Hey everybody, welcome to TYT Nation Interviews. I'm your host, Jeff Waldorf, and I have a special guest with me today, coming back to the show after quite some time, and she's actually got a very interesting race that's going on right now. I want to introduce you or reintroduce you to Amy Vilela. She is running in Nevada's 4th District, and like I said, we've got to talk about the time in between the time that you were on the show last time. So, but first of all, welcome back. It's good to
Thanks for
see you.
having me back again.
It's really, really good to see you. A lot of stuff happened. I want to congratulate you first, of course, on becoming a Justice Democrat. That is fantastic news.
Yeah, I'm very privileged to be on that slate of candidates. So I'm very thrilled.
Well, we're glad to see you there with a lot of really talented and amazing candidates. You're definitely one of them, so that's big, big news. And again, congratulations.
Thank you.
So, all right. So, one of the things that I want to talk to you about is your race, which has gotten even more interesting than it already was, if you can believe it, since the last time we spoke. So, your race in Nevada is wide open. Your opponent,
Yeah.
Ruben, I still cannot say his name, uh, happened to get himself into a little bit of trouble and is no longer running for re-election. He's not stepping down, but he's not running again, which means you are wide open.
Yes, the race is wide open. At this point, I'm the only Democrat that is in the race, but I'm sure there'll be others that will be joining the race probably shortly.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that because, again, you're an incredibly qualified candidate, at least from my experience. You're running on the right issues. Um, but I was wondering what the Democratic establishment is doing now that Rubin is no longer in the race. I mean, have you had any sort of responses from them? Have they reached out to you at all? Are they, considering getting behind you, or what's going on?
I think at this point the race is still open. I've not seen any indications as of yet that they're going to be backing any particular person. So, and right now there's people that are they're just still deciding whether or not they're going to enter. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
names being thrown around. Um, I know for our district and for the state of Nevada that it's very important that they have a candidate who is running on a progressive platform like myself, because that is what's going to help bring unity back. I'm able to attract a lot of the people that have been Dem Exiters or who are very disenfranchised with the political system right now. And we're in a purple district that flips back and forth. It's really going to take someone like who has my type of candidacy to really ignite, the constituents to get out, get involved in the voting process again, and really stand behind, another candidate. So I'm very excited. I think that, we're going to continue on our race as we've been doing, remaining really focused on the issues, because that's what people are really interested in. Since even in the past 6 months, it's really been a change in how people are paying attention. People are really seeing the effects in the worst kind of way from not being awoke in the political process and being sure, that they understand who's representing them and the issues that are going to really affect their lives.
Right. Have you been seeing a lot of interest in your campaign? For example, a lot of people wanting to come and volunteer, or have been looking into what your campaign is about, where you're standing on the issues. Have you been able to do any sort of like town halls or meetings or anything like that, or campaign events? And have you been seeing a lot of interest when it comes to those?
Definitely, the interest has really grown since this seat has opened up. We've had over 3,000 donors in this quarter alone, and also people in Nevada. It's now an open race where they're more willing to look at another candidate And they're really hearing what I'm standing for, and I'm seeing that growth grow leaps and bounds since it's now an open seat. So I'm very excited. I'm excited really at the opportunity of being able to talk about the issues and getting people engaged back in that process, because it is so important with all the things that we know are happening in Congress and in the Senate right now. We really need to get some warriors in Congress and Senate elected in order to start combating and not just resisting, because that's not enough alone, but actually starting to change the dialogue that's happening on the ground as well as in the House and in the Senate.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to see how the entire dynamic of the race has actually changed. And I know not to get too horse race politics, but I think this is kind of an important part of where your campaign is at right now. Just the dynamic of here you were going against an incumbent who had a lot of advantages. You told me last time that he was endorsed by, Harry Reid, backed by Harry Reid and establishment Democrats. And so he would have had all the different advantages that an incumbent campaign had, including money, cash. And you're not taking any corporate or PAC money. That's why you're a Justice Democrat, which is, of course, awesome. That's exactly what we want to see in any political campaign, not just if you're a Justice Democrat or not, but in any political campaign, we want to make sure that the candidates are taking no corporate or PAC money and actually getting funded by the people. And I'm assuming you've been seeing a lot of ground on. You've been gaining a lot of ground on that level as well when it comes to actually funding your campaign. And I do later want to talk about a fundraising push that you're actually making as well, your campaign. But as far as the dynamic has changed, it's completely open, and that presents a very rare and excellent opportunity for a new campaign, somebody new to come in. And so what are you doing to try to capitalize on this very unique opportunity?
I'm really getting out there and getting involved and making sure that my voice is being heard, not only nationally but also locally. We're getting our volunteer base set up. We're getting ready to start hitting the ground in January. We're really excited about that. This district is very large, so we've got a lot of work ahead of us on that. We are reaching out, not only to volunteers, but to organizations and other community leaders, making sure that, they're knowing that we're in this race, we're still in this race. And, also it looks like the local media now is starting to show a little bit of attention. It was very amazing to see all the outpouring when they were ignoring my race 100% completely.
Yeah.
Where I was like, wait a minute, there is somebody running in the district already since July. So, it's really been amazing how it's turning around. But, of course, as I am a, grassroots candidate, they're not going to take us as seriously regardless as other candidates, because we are so grassroots, and we're not going, we don't have the backing of, large corporations and super PACs. So it's really important that, people come out and support these grassroots candidates, not only, being their voice on social media, amplifying their message, sharing, liking, retweeting, but also, volunteering and donating. We have a really big push right now to end this quarter, and so that we can show that we are viable and we are in this race and we are going to be a force to be reckoned with.
So something that's interesting, too, that happened in between since we last talked, is the Me Too movement. And that's actually what knocked Ruben out of the race. I want to give your thoughts on that and how that's actually changing the discourse of America, and actually, because I see it as it's a big culture change. It's a culture shift that's been ending a lot of politicians' careers, a lot of media personalities' careers, movie directors, Harvey Weinstein, etc. And so, let's talk about the impact that's having on culture and politics in general.
Right. So, there is definitely accountability now for actions. We're seeing that finally women feel safe to talk about their happens that we're in that era right now. Women for a very long time, and I know throughout my career, are often put in very toxic situations, and sometimes they're having to choose between what they feel safe for them or healthy and providing for their families. And many times these are single mothers who really don't have any other alternative. So, I'm very disheartened that we have someone representing Nevada that is displaying this kind of behavior. We have a lot of issues to be working on that a lot of Nevadans are hurting and really needed to have, attention put to those issues in Congress. And it's very unfortunate that that's what the focus has been in this point. And to be quite honest, I think it's about time that we have more women in office. We need more women in office that are experiencing a lot of the issues that are facing Americans today, such as raising families, trying to raise a family, by yourself, or, go through and figure out how to navigate the professional world with little support system in place. So this is really an opportune time for us to get more women in office that, understand the stakes and are willing to go to bat and make sure that these things are addressed in Congress and in the Senate.
Right. And healthcare obviously is the big issue. Medicare for all.
Yeah.
That's definitely your big issue. Now, interestingly enough, the tax plan that just passed today
Yes,
effectively ends.
unfortunately.
Yeah, it effectively ends the ACA, and it does
Yes.
that by eliminating the individual mandate. Now, people in the House, I mean, I haven't heard of anybody speaking up, any of the Democrats in the House speaking out against this tax plan as it was being debated. It sailed right through the House of Representatives.
Well, and we had, we had Senator Corker in the Senate saying that, he didn't understand, he didn't read it, and he said he would take an accountant to understand the bill. Well,
Isn't it supposed to be simpler?
If you don't understand the bill, you shouldn't be signing it, A. And, I'm a CFO, so I'll be more than happy to break it down for him that this is going to hurt, working class families across this country, and it's going to increase the wealth of the top 1%. We're talking about automatic cuts that will total, around $136 billion. And some of those reductions are in, agricultural subsidies, student loans, military retirement, not to mention the cuts to Medicare, that it's going to affect our elderly and people with disabilities. This is an inhumane tax bill. It should not have gone through. So I am very disheartened, and the working class people are continuously being robbed to increase the wealth of the top 1%. And I feel like they should be screaming off at the top of the hill, you know what, we're not going to we're going to tell you exactly what's in this bill. They should have been out at their, in their hometowns with their constituencies, explaining and rallying them up around, making a really big outcry, because this is going to affect millions and millions of Americans' lives and the working class. And not only was it about the financial impact, but they were also putting things in there that, will really hurt women's reproductive health rights. They were putting everything they could in there to pretty much erase any progress that we have made in supporting, women, our elderly, our working families with their children. It's really, to me, was disgusting what I saw happening. And again, this is why we really need to get people who are grassroots, who are people powered, who are not beholden to their donors or special interest, and get them in office so that they are represented by people who are beholden to them. So that's really important.
Yeah. Just to note, Corker made $1.1 million off this.
Right.
So him and other members of Congress that voted for this, and the House bill actually had some even more egregious pieces inside of it.
It's rough.
So
Maybe they ought to hire an accountant to explain the bills to them if they make that much.
they might need to. I mean, look, we all know their staffers basically will read some of the legislation and go, here's what our donors want inside of it. Go ahead and sign it, vote for it, etc. And that's the thing you want to get rid of. That's the thing we all want to get rid of, Republicans even. And that's the influence of money in politics. That's what this bill is all about. This is a giant sloppy wet kiss to, giant corporations and the wealthy. And it hands over 1.5 to almost $2 trillion to the rich. And that's the unfunded portions.
Yeah, and it's a redistribution of the wealth. And as you know, the wealthier they get, the more political power they obtain, and then it generates even more wealth.
Mm-hmm.
It's a vicious cycle. We have to break it. The American people have to stand up and say enough is enough. And that means getting really involved in more ways than you probably ever have been.
Because it seems to me
out there and volunteering for the candidates that are, going to be beholden to them, find out who they are in your district, and supporting them even on a national level. It's going to take all of us.
Exactly. And you need to have the right kind of politician that'll do that. And as far as I can tell, because of all the, problems your former opponent was getting himself into, even though he's in Congress, we didn't hear him speaking up about this tax bill that would definitely hurt Nevadans. We didn't hear him. He wasn't doing anything.
Right.
He wasn't talking about it. I heard very few people in the House talking about this. And, if people choose to elect you, would you be out there saying, hey, wait a minute, this bill is crap?
Yes, it's a disservice to the constituents completely. I am pretty much a fireball. I would be out there definitely raising concern, making sure that my constituents, as well as many across, being what's going on, what's happening, and also on the floor. We need to be bold. I mean, we have been at a time where we're just constantly resisting. We need to do more than that. We don't need to just vote no. We need to be boldly out there proclaiming that this bill is inhumane, making sure that we are messaging what's included in this bill and how it affects everyday American, and we need to make sure that messaging is messaged in a way that the majority can understand what exactly you're talking about and what exactly it entails. And that, I think, is really the job of people who are representing, in Congress and in the Senate.
Yeah, and you've heard me talk about my problems with some of the Democrats there. Now, Bernie Sanders, he was one of the, and he got together with, I'm blanking out on his name now, from Oregon, Ron Wyden. He and Ron Wyden, it was awesome. When the Senate was taking up the bill, they actually found something wrong with it because it had been so hastily rushed through that they're like, hey, wait a minute, this violates the Byrd Amendment, the Byrd Rule, and you're going to have to send it back, and we're going to have the House re-vote on it. Because Bernie Sanders and Ron Wyden and real progressives, they're the only ones that are paying attention. You just pointed out.
I think the donor base is paying attention too.
Yeah.
They want the bill.
Well, I mean, they don't know everything that's in it. All they know is what benefits them personally and their donors. They don't understand the impact of what this tax bill is actually going to have on the middle class and the working class. So, and that's the biggest problem here is again, we don't have representation in the working class or for the working class and middle class. We only have representation for the super, super rich.
Well, and it's really unfortunate to say, but I feel like many of our representatives just do not care what happens. Mm-hmm. It's almost as if it's a political game and a power game and a money game. We definitely need to clean house and clean the Senate. We need to make sure that we are electing people beginning in 2018. And really gearing up for 2020, we need to have that system in place. The work starts now. It doesn't start, at the end of this year or in 2020. It starts now. We have to be on the ground, really working in communities to make sure that we have a blue wave, but not only a blue wave, but a blue wave of progressives across this country, true progressives that are going to fight, for the working class, for the elderly, for people with disabilities, for LGBTQ communities, for people who are people of color, women. There are so many issues right now that are adversely affecting these communities, and not enough is being done to protect them. And we need to start making changes now, so that hopefully once we do get to 2020 and we can replace number 45, we'll have that structure in place to start getting some real work done. And so it's an exciting time that we actually do have a chance. We have a lot of great groups out there really backing all of the progressive candidates, such as you were mentioning, Justice Democrats, Brand New Congress, Our Revolution, Progressive Democrats of America. They're out there getting ready to help support and help mobilize, the communities to back all of these candidates that are willing to come out and speak boldly and run for office.
So aside from one more question here, aside from Justice Democrats, are there any local Nevada groups that are coming around to you and are trying to help you out as well?
Yeah, we've got the local Our Revolution chapter has endorsed me. The National's not doing endorsements until January, so we're looking forward to hopefully gaining that endorsement. There are a lot of local groups that are also, I'm meeting with and talking about how we can work together on these goals. I think a lot of people don't realize how close we are on the issues because, they want to argue about politics and all of the talk that goes back and forth about, whether it's Hillary or Bernie but when we start talking about the issues, I really find very little difference as far as if I ask somebody, for instance, do you feel that my daughter should have died from a lack of insurance? I have rarely found someone, there are some actually, unfortunately, but
unfortunately,
99% of the people I've spoken to, even people who supported Trump, will say no. What I think as progressives, our challenge is to not get so wrapped up into, all of the talk surrounding politics, but really push hard on the issues and have the American people understand that the progressive platform is the platform of the people. And so that's what I've been really working on with community groups here in Nevada, and even, and nationally, I've been really trying hard to concentrate on the issues to ensure that, that we're being soft on the people and hard on the issues, as Nina Turner would say. Mm-hmm. So and sometimes it's hard. It can be very hard to be soft on the people, but, we have to keep that in mind, that it's really just about showing the constituents and just the everyday working class American that, we might differ a little bit on how to get there, but when we really start talking about the issues, the people's platform, and the platform of the Justice Democrats and the Brand New Congress and Our Revolution, all of these platforms really speak to what's needed in our society today in America.
So you're saying that you want to run on policy over politics? What kind of politician does that? Are you sure you're a real politician? No, you're a real
really
person.
Hard to stick to the issues. I'm really just constantly talking about it, and sometimes it can be challenging, but you really have to just keep all the noise out and really just concentrate on what matters. Is that I always tell people, as people are arguing about, a lot of things are really inconsequential to our everyday lives, what is really hits home with me, and is true for me and in my soul, is that I know every day that goes by, there are people that are losing their life, that are becoming homeless, that are, suffering from discrimination, whether it's from racial or because you're part of the LGBTQA society. They are feeling the effects every day of our government and our leaders putting profit over people. That's the reality. And it breaks my heart. I almost wish that we'd have election day tomorrow and I could get started the day after. I'm ready to get in there and really try to make as much change as I possibly can and give my contribution back for all the people that have been fighting before us to get us to the point where we are now. I mean, even when you talk about something as healthcare, it took years. They've been representing this bill to Congress for years. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need. We need people that, even if it doesn't look like it's going to pass right now, we need to be introducing bills now. We need to be doing it left and right and entering them and talking on them and messaging and putting it out before the people and creating that movement. That's what's going to create the change long term. And so, I know a lot of people say, well, wow, your platform, I don't think that's going to be possible in the next 2 years. Probably not. But if we aren't fighting for it now, it never will become reality. If we're not talking about it now, it never gets into people's psyche that this is even possible. It's only by us talking about it and working to enter those bills into Congress or into the Senate, that's where the real change begins. And it's a movement. So we have a lot of work. And it's exciting, but it's also, there's a real cost to every day that goes by that we're not doing the work.
Yeah, it's about laying that foundation. Now, you talk about cost, right? There's a personal cost to running for office, and you're definitely aware of that personal cost. You can't exactly work when you're campaigning all the time. No. So, no. I mean, just tell tell everybody about like the personal cost, what it's like to actually run for office as a real human being that's not backed by these gigantic super PACs where they pay for everything and you can just sit back and do your campaigning, because again, you're a real person. You have bills and you have things that you have to do. Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, I can tell you that a lot of the Justice Democrats and brand new Congress members, where the first thing is they were primarying a sitting congressman or senator. That in itself brings a whole nother wave of ridicule and animosity, that you have to take on immediately. And it takes a lot of courage and boldness to say, I am going to hold my representative accountable for the campaign that they run on, the issues that they ran on in their campaign. And I'm going to call them into account and make sure that they know that they owe the people that they are serving what they promised them when they ran. That was the first piece, and that was really hard. But, there's also the piece where, I quit my job. You don't spend a lot of time with your family. It's a huge personal sacrifice. But, I knew when I was out in the community that it was not just about me, wasn't just about healthcare. There was a much bigger issue and a much bigger purpose. And, I had to take that experience, and I knew that, to close my eyes and not do anything about it would make me an accomplice to what I was doing. And I was not going to allow Shalene's legacy to be me, taking the easy route out. This is a much bigger purpose and a much bigger, challenge than I ever thought I'd be engaging in. But it feels good to be able to give back to this country and this community and to be a part of this momentous period of time. We really have, a chance of making some real difference in this country.
Yeah, and I think this is our best chance. I mean, especially you. I mean, you've got an open race now, and anything can happen, and you've got the momentum behind you, and you've got the right platform, and you've got the Justice Democrats, and you've got people like, I think you're doing a wonderful job, and I'd love to see you win and be a representative. You're not my representative, but I would like to have a representative such as yourself.
Well, it would be in a way. Everything I do
that is true.
Affects everybody in America. It's
yeah. I love the work that you're doing, and I love the fact that you're a regular person, and you saw a problem that wanted to get fixed, and you're like, okay, let's fix it. Let's do the work. Let's get it done, and let's start helping people. Now, speaking of helping people, how can people help you?
We could use all the help we can get. We're at the end of the quarter right now, and we're getting ready to file our next set of FEC filings. And everyone is looking to see how viable I am. They're looking to see how much support I actually have. And we need to show them that, progressives can raise money without, being sold out and without going to large corporations or super PACs. So we need all the help we can. If you whatever you can donate would be great. If you go to justicedemocrats.com/help Amy win, we'd greatly appreciate it. In addition, that money not only shows that we're viable, but right now we're trying to secure, a field organizer. We have a huge district that we have to cover here in Nevada and CD4. So, and I definitely want to be able to pay a livable wage to the staff that are working on this campaign tirelessly. So we could use any support you can give, and not only financially, but because the media will not cover progressives as much as they do, other candidates. We need everyone to be our voice and to amplify our voice, and by sharing, liking, following, tagging, really helping us get the word out to the communities that we're in. There are a lot of Justice Democrats, out there right now running, as well as brand new Congress, and pretty soon there'll be our revolution candidates and PDA candidates. Make sure that, not only are you doing it on a national level, but also for you supporting your local candidates as well. That's so important. So again, you can visit us, you can go and visit justicedemocrats.com/help Amy win. And be sure to check me out on my own personal website, which is, Amy, 4thepeople.com. And also on Twitter, Amy, again, 4, the people. So feel free to follow and like, share, donate, and volunteer.
All right. And we will have all of those links at the bottom in the description of this video. So everybody help out. Check out Amy. Help her out. She's Justice Democrat, Nevada's 4th District. Thank you, Amy. It was always a pleasure talking to you. And I appreciate you coming on the show. And again, I love the work that you're doing. And you're doing the work of the people, man.